Commissioner Gordon, Bane has escaped.
You've been the helper, the fixer, the listener, the dependable one. You've absorbed the chaos of others while starving your own mind of stillness. You think that's loyalty, but it's self-abandonment dressed as virtue. Every time you save someone from their storm, your own sky darkens a little more. There's a cost to being the anchor in everyone's ocean. You lose the current that's supposed to carry you forward. Now it's time to redirect that energy inward, not out of selfishness, but survival. You cannot pour from a mind running on fumes. The world doesn't need another martyr. It needs people who know how to rebuild from within. The season has come where your own healing becomes your highest responsibility. You've been waiting for permission to choose yourself, as if the world will ever give it. It never will. The demands will keep coming. The noise will never stop. The expectations will multiply the moment you show capacity. That's the trap. They see how much you can carry and give you more. But what if, for once, you put everything down? What if you stopped trying to be everywhere and started mastering somewhere? That somewhere is you. Your potential has been whispering beneath the noise of obligation. It's been waiting for your attention. You don't need applause for that choice. You just need silence. The moment you decide to focus inward, life stops draining and starts building. That's not abandonment. That's alignment. The hardest thing you'll ever do is choose yourself when it feels like betrayal. The people who benefited from your neglect will call it selfish. Let them. They were never meant to understand boundaries built from exhaustion. They will say you've changed, and they'll be right, because you have finally recognized that saving everyone else was just a distraction from saving yourself. Growth demands isolation. You cannot rewire your life in the same room where it broke you. You need distance to see clearly, to recalibrate your direction. When you focus on yourself, you stop being available to chaos. You stop being bait for guilt. The peace you build from that decision will offend those who thrived on your confusion. Let it. That's how freedom begins. You've spent years trying to meet expectations that were never your own. They told you who to be, what to chase, and how to measure worth. Every time you followed, you moved further from your original self. The system rewards distraction. It sells validation like oxygen. But the truth is quieter. Fulfillment lives in focus. When you finally withdraw from the noise and study yourself with the same intensity you studied their opinions, you uncover something rare. You realize you were never lost, only layered beneath years of noise. The process of peeling back those layers feels lonely, but it's liberation disguised as solitude. You can't hear your own voice until you stop performing for theirs. This chapter isn't about disappearing from the world. It's about re-entering it differently. When you focus on yourself, you stop chasing things that drain you. You learn the art of selective energy. You no longer move from desperation, but from design. You understand that presence is power, and you guard it like currency. The people who are meant for your life will never be threatened by your growth. The ones who fall away were attached to your limitation. Let the pruning happen. You don't owe explanations to anyone who refuses to evolve beside you. The moment you redirect your focus inward, the external world rearranges to match it. That's how alignment works. Every great transformation begins in isolation. Not the kind that wounds, but the kind that heals. It's in the quiet spaces, early mornings, late nights, long walks, where the mind begins to detox from the poison of performance. You start hearing your own thoughts again. You start remembering what peace feels like. The distractions that once seemed irresistible lose their power because they no longer serve your evolution. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean cutting people off. It means cutting off access to your energy until it's purified. Once that energy returns to strength, you'll know exactly who deserves it. You'll stop guessing where to place your effort, because your instincts will sharpen through solitude. The greatest act of rebellion in a distracted world is focus. They want you divided between screens, opinions, and obligations, because divided people are easy to manipulate. But when you channel all your energy into yourself, you become dangerous. Your time becomes intentional. Your thoughts become disciplined. You move with purpose, not impulse. Focus turns ordinary days into training grounds. Every action becomes deliberate. Every decision carries weight. That's how you rebuild power, not through speed, but through stillness. When you focus on yourself, you stop reacting to the world and start designing your own. This era of your life will test your patience. You'll want results fast. You'll crave reassurance that focusing inward is working. But growth doesn't announce itself. It unfolds quietly. The roots strengthen long before the tree breaks the surface. You may feel unseen while the work happens beneath, but that's how transformation always begins. Don't rush the process by seeking validation. Trust the silence. Every day spent refining yourself compounds into momentum. You don't owe progress visibility. You owe it consistency. Focus is a slow weapon, but once it strikes, it's unstoppable. You've tried pouring energy into everyone and everything, and it left you hollow. Now it's time to redirect that same intensity into yourself. It's not about isolation, it's about investment. You are your longest project. Every minute you spend mastering your emotions, refining your craft, or reclaiming your peace multiplies your future tenfold. The world doesn't reward burnout. It rewards those who sustain. The people you once chased will one day chase your energy, because you learned to protect it. That's the hidden reward of focus. You stop seeking, and life starts aligning. Science has quietly proven what your soul has always known. There's only so much focus a human can give before the mind starts bleeding energy. 4 hours. That's the edge of your cognitive flame, the window where your effort burns pure and unfiltered. After that, the fire dims into smoke. The world tries to convince you to stretch it further, to grind endlessly, to give more than you have, but biology doesn't negotiate. Those 4 hours are sacred. They are the hours when you are most alive, most capable of shaping reality. Spend them on yourself. Build your future in that prime state of clarity. What you give to others after should be overflow, not self-erasure. Greatness is not about endless sacrifice. It's about guarding your peak hours like treasure and spending them where they compound. Those hours are the difference between mediocrity and mastery. Everyone is given the same 24, but only a few understand that the first 4 define the rest. That's when your brain operates at its cleanest frequency, uninterrupted, sharp, and capable of breakthroughs. Most waste them scrolling, reacting, pleasing. They trade brilliance for business. You can't afford that anymore. Those hours are your inheritance. They were designed for creation, not consumption. Protect them like you would oxygen. Build in silence during that sacred window and let the world get what's left. You don't owe anyone your prime state when your own life still waits for its masterpiece. Think of the mind like a reservoir. Each morning it fills with potential energy, focus, and creativity. But the world lines up with buckets to take from it. Messages, obligations, noise. If you start pouring before you drink, you end up dehydrated by noon. Those 4 hours aren't about selfishness. They're about sustainability. You can't serve anyone from depletion. Overflow is different. Overflow is generosity born from abundance. When you use your best energy on your own growth first, What you give later carries power, not resentment. The world feels your exhaustion when you give from emptiness. It feels your radiance when you give from fullness. Every high performer, every thinker, every artist who left a mark understood this rhythm. They knew their deep work was sacred ritual. Hemingway wrote before sunrise. Tesla worked in isolation. Da Vinci disappeared into silence. They didn't chase balance, they honored capacity. They used their best hours for creation, not distraction. After that, life became secondary. You can't build extraordinary outcomes with leftover attention. You have to treat focus like currency, rare, finite, and precious. Spend it on yourself, and the world benefits by default. People confuse self-investment with selfishness because they've never felt what real presence feels like. When you dedicate your best hours to your own evolution, you don't shrink from others. You expand for them. Your clarity becomes contagious. Your discipline sets a standard. But that transformation can't begin when your peak mental energy belongs to everyone else's agenda. You weren't built to check messages before you check your mission. The mind that wakes fresh each morning should report to your dreams first, not distractions. Those who learn this rule bend time itself. 4 focused hours done daily create more progress than 40 scattered ones lived unconsciously. Deep work isn't about grinding longer, it's about going deeper. The human brain thrives in immersion, not fragmentation. Every notification, every interruption fractures your momentum. Protecting your 4-hour window means defending your destiny from dilution. During that time, you belong to no one. The phone stays silent. The noise stays outside. You and the work become one. That's not discipline. That's devotion. Devotion to your craft, your goals, your mind. Everything meaningful you build will come from those protected hours. Everything else is maintenance, not creation. The mistake people make is thinking that effort alone creates success. It doesn't. Precision does. The mind at its peak can accomplish more in 1 hour of focus than 10 hours of scattered activity. The difference lies in intentional allocation. You don't owe your prime mental state to the trivial. You owe it to what could change your life. The rest of the day can hold noise, meetings, and maintenance. But those first 4 hours are the throne room. That's where the real work happens. Master those hours, and you master the direction of your entire existence. Giving from your overflow changes the entire dynamic of your relationships, your work, and your peace. You stop giving to be liked and start giving because you have more than enough. You stop seeking validation through service and start radiating purpose through strength. The world begins to respond differently because your energy carries authority. When you're full, you give without depletion. When you're empty, you give with resentment. Every morning becomes a choice to fill your own cup first or to drain it in the name of duty. Choose wisely. The difference defines your legacy. This understanding demands boundaries. You can't expect to reach your potential if you're always accessible. Greatness requires absence from the trivial. It demands that you prioritize solitude over noise, purpose over performance, and quality over quantity. You were not built to be endlessly available. You were built to be effective. When you give your prime focus to yourself, you stop living reactively. You begin designing deliberately. That is how power is built, through undivided attention given to what actually matters. The mind is not a mystery. It's a landscape. Every thought you repeat becomes a brick, every belief a boundary. What you focus on takes up space in that terrain until it becomes your reality. Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to reshape itself through repetition. Feed it fear long enough, and you'll build a fortress of hesitation. Feed it vision long enough, and you'll construct a skyline of potential. The neurons that fire together wire together. Every second of focus is real estate under construction. That's why mindfulness matters. It's not a spiritual luxury, it's survival. You are either designing your mind with intention or renting it out to fear. Most people never own their focus. They live as tenants in their own head, paying rent to anxiety, resentment, and regret. They wake up, check noise, and let the world decide what they'll think about for the rest of the day. That is mental poverty, not a lack of intelligence, but a lack of sovereignty. Attention is currency. Spend it carelessly, and your thoughts will default to survival, not creation. But when you decide what deserves your gaze, the mind begins to reorganize itself. Fear no longer gets free rent. You evict it by starving it of attention. Every moment you redirect focus to vision, purpose, or calm, you reclaim territory that was once colonized by doubt. Fear doesn't feed on reality, it feeds on rehearsal. The brain can't distinguish between imagined danger and real danger. Every time you entertain worst-case scenarios, you build neural highways for panic to travel faster next time. You become efficient at anxiety. That's why worry feels automatic, because it's been rehearsed more than courage. But the opposite is also true. You can rehearse confidence until it becomes your default. You can feed courage until it occupies the same space fear once did. Mindfulness is not passive awareness. It's active architecture. Every thought is a construction order. Vision grows the same way fear does, through attention and repetition. When you visualize the life you want, not as fantasy but as training, you activate the same neural circuits that move the body toward action. The prefrontal cortex doesn't need reality to practice success, it needs focus. Feed your vision consistently, and your brain begins to prioritize pathways that lead toward it. That's how champions train before the event. They've already built the neurological blueprint for victory. Their focus is ownership, not chance. You are not at the mercy of your thoughts. You are the landlord of them. Mindfulness teaches you to manage that property, to notice what's growing without permission and prune it before it spreads. Most people wait until fear becomes a forest before they start clearing it. But attention works like sunlight. Whatever you aim it at grows. If you constantly check for what could go wrong, you're watering weeds. If you deliberately focus on solutions, gratitude, or progress, you're planting trees. Ownership begins when you realize the mind is fertile by default. It doesn't care what seeds you plant, it only promises growth. The discipline lies in choosing what you cultivate. Every belief you hold is a cluster of neurons that fired together for long enough to feel true. That's why changing your life feels unnatural. You're not just shifting perspective, you're demolishing mental infrastructure. Old thought patterns resist eviction because they've lived their rent free for years. Mindfulness gives you the tools to demolish with grace. Each time you catch a negative thought and redirect it, you weaken its wiring. Each time you reinforce a better one, you strengthen a new rote. Eventually, the brain stops defaulting to pain and starts navigating toward peace. That's self-mastery, not silence of thought, but ownership of focus. The most dangerous habit isn't procrastination or distraction, it's passive attention. Letting your focus drift into whatever is loudest trains your brain to confuse noise for importance. That's why modern minds are exhausted. They're overstimulated but underdirected. Mindfulness reverses that current. It slows you down enough to observe what's hijacking your attention and redirect it with purpose. Once you see how much of your life runs on autopilot, you begin to wake up inside it. That awakening is the first act of freedom. Focused awareness reclaims time that mindless reaction wastes. The mind learns what you teach it. Feed it outrage and it becomes addicted to conflict. Feed it peace and it starts searching for calm. Feed it purpose and it filters for opportunity. You are training your nervous system every day, whether you know it or not. The difference between chaos and clarity lies in awareness. The most powerful people on earth are not those with perfect minds, but those who manage theirs like empires. They defend attention like soldiers at a gate. They decide what enters. They protect what grows. That's why mindfulness is not weakness. It's power made precise. You will feel resistance when you start reclaiming focus. The brain fights back because it craves what it's rehearsed. But the discomfort of awareness is temporary. The freedom it brings is permanent. Once you learn to observe your thoughts without becoming them, you gain distance from the chaos. You realize that attention is choice, and choice is power. Every time you return focus to the present, you reclaim control from conditioning. You stop being a victim of habit and start being a creator of outcome. That shift is the birth of authority. Every time you say no, you create space. That refusal is not an ending, it's a doorway. When you reject a distraction, a person, or an old pattern, you carve emptiness where noise used to live. That gap is sacred. It's where energy recalibrates. But the world fears emptiness. It rushes to fill the silence with whatever is closest: entertainment, chatter, tasks that look like progress but serve no purpose. If you don't fill that space with intention, the world will fill it with clutter. Boundaries without purpose decay into boredom, and boredom invites chaos. Each no must be paired with a deliberate yes, to rest, to creation, to thought. The power of saying no lies not in rejection, but in what you choose to replace it with. The vacuum left behind is opportunity, but only if you guard it like gold. Most people mistake saying no for loss, as if rejection means missing out. But the truth is every no is a trade. You are exchanging distraction for direction, mediocrity for mastery, noise for meaning. The vacuum you create by refusing something is not absence. It's potential unclaimed. The question is what you'll do with it. The human mind hates unfilled space. It craves stimulation. That's why so many collapse back into old habits after setting boundaries. They cleared the room but never decorated it. Saying no is step one. Filling the void with something worthy is the work. If you don't define what belongs in your silence, someone else will, and the cycle of depletion starts again. Think of your attention like oxygen. When you say no, you stop feeding certain fires, but oxygen always moves toward flame. If you don't light your own, someone else's chaos will consume your air. That's why intention matters more than rejection. A boundary is not about escape, it's about redirection. The mind doesn't want emptiness, it wants focus. You have to decide what fills your mental landscape before the world decides for you. Fill it with progress, not noise. Fill it with stillness that builds insight, not scrolling that kills thought. If you master the art of the intentional vacuum, you master peace. There's a reason most people fear solitude. When noise fades, they meet themselves, and they rarely like what they find. That's the danger of the unfilled vacuum. It reveals what has been hiding under distraction. But that exposure is exactly what creates transformation. Every time you resist the urge to fill silence with stimulation, you train your mind to sit in truth. The discomfort fades, replaced by clarity. You begin to hear thoughts that were buried under obligation. That's how focus begins, not through control, but through courage to stay empty until purpose arrives. In a world addicted to reaction, stillness feels radical. Every time you say no, you're stepping outside the stream of constant engagement. The silence that follows can feel unnatural, but it's the birthplace of direction. The vacuum you create by setting boundaries is not absence. It's incubation. It's the moment before creation, the pause before precision. Artists, thinkers, and leaders all understand this. They withdraw to listen, not escape. The vacuum is their advantage because they fill it with design, while others fill it with distraction. The one who controls their silence controls their story. The world is opportunistic. It senses your gaps and tries to occupy them. If you don't fill your time with intention, someone will fill it with their agenda. That's how you lose years, not through failure, but through passivity. You said no to distraction, but never said yes to discipline, so comfort moved in disguised as peace. The vacuum you created became storage for other people's urgency. Every empty space in your schedule, your mind, your life must have a purpose. Even rest must be chosen, not drifted into. The universe rewards those who fill their emptiness deliberately. There is a subtle power in protecting your vacuum. It's not a void, it's a laboratory. It's where you test ideas, refine values, and rehearse the next evolution of yourself.